That way the new people know who we are. And I think that'll be good. And then what we do is we'll go around the room. We do have needs, wants. If you have something you're looking for, property that you're looking to buy or looking to sell, if you're looking for a certain contractor, then you can throw that out there. And then after that, then we'll kind of go into question and answers. See what kind of questions people have. This one wants to talk about a deal that they're doing. We do it at that point. This meeting is being recorded. We do not offer legal or financial advice. We just give information. You really, anything you say, if you want to do and act on it, you should check with your accountant, a CPA, or check with your attorney too, because everybody's different. Every situation is a little bit different. And I may say something that works for me, but it may not work for you. And I certainly don't want to mislead you into anything myself. So I'll start out. Scott Spear, lucky enough to be traveling full time in an RV right now. I was born and raised in Rochester, built a decent real estate portfolio there with a lot of help from a lot of people on this call right now, and was able to sell most of that off. And I've moved over to self-storage. Now I do pretty much strictly self-storage, and it allows me to travel. Right now we actually happen to be sitting in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And tomorrow morning, we're heading down to Denver, Colorado. We'll be down there for at least 3 weeks. Plan on being back this summer to attend the picnic that I'll let Leon talk about.
We did it already.
Yeah. Oh, did you? Okay, good.
We did.
Yeah.
Everybody knows.
Good. Need some time filler. Thank you. So that's my story. So let's go ahead. Let's go right to Andy. I'll just call people out as I see their names on my screen. Andy, go ahead.
All right. So I am a full-time consultant. I work with the real estate industry. I spent 20 something years in building materials supply. I covered Rochester and Syracuse at a district level for the depot, but I was deep into multifamily property management. I actually had the largest client base in the United States for property management, and I left depot in 2018 and started consulting on my own full-time in 2019 after Conifer Realty, one of the VPs, basically talked me into doing it. So I left my other job, and like a month later, I opened the LLC, and here I am. So I do all things purchasing, procurement, project management, et cetera, et cetera. I'm working on a 330 unit apartment rehab in Webster. I do phone and online consulting for a lot of people. I do all kinds of market research and fun stuff. So I've done a lot of projects, and I'm not a cheap date. Other than that, I do help with FFREIA, and I work primarily, actually almost exclusively, with buy and hold, value add, family office, multifamily investors with over 1,000 doors. I only work with V and C level people, and I help them make more money. And I do pay referral fees. So if you don't work for one of those companies and you know somebody who could use some help with their supply chain issues that I know they're having, because everybody is, I am not a cheap date, and you will get a nice little check in the mail. That's it.
And did you operate nationally, or you tend to be more local?
I'm anywhere.
Somebody. Okay.
Nope, I'm anywhere. Right. I'll get on a plane if I need to. I was supposed to be in Washington, D.C. yesterday, and that didn't work out. I was supposed to be at the NAHB Multifamily Council leadership meetings. Not going to D.C. right now. I'm good.
All right. All right. Very good. Okay. Next up, and if you're new to the group, we really want to hear from you, especially. If you're new and you don't have any real estate experience, that's okay. Don't worry about it. We all were there at one point. What we'd like to know, if you're new and don't have a real estate experience, tell us a little bit what you do now, what brought you to the FFREIA meeting, and then also what you'd like to do in real estate too. So, because that's what we do. We all help each other. You know, they say a rising tide rises all ships. Well, that's what we believe here. We all kind of help each other to become more successful. So next up, I'm going to call on Luis Martinez.
Buenos dias. My name is Luis Martinez, and my wife is here in the room. Sharon and I.
I'm in the leather chair.
And we attended our first FFREIA event. We met Leon there last week on Thursday, a week ago. We were brand new to this. And we decided early this year that we're going to do this to build a business for our children. We have 3 grown children. I retired from Xerox. My wife retired from URMC. To be perfectly frank, we're not doing this for the money for us. We have money. We have what we need to live. So we're not doing it to as a means of sustenance. We're doing it to create a business that our children can inherit, so that they have more options than just trading time for money. So they're in on it. That is that they will be partners in time. We're launching it, and then they will be coming on in time, and also according to what they're good at. And so we're brand new, and so we have a lot of questions. The only experience I have is that back in the 1980s, we owned a 3-bedroom, a 3-1 in Pennsylvania when we lived in Philadelphia. And we were landlords for 5 years. I do my own taxes. I went back and looked and said, that was a nice thing we were doing back then. So, because I have all the tax returns going back 50 years. And I looked and I said that we should have kept doing that. But when we moved to Rochester in 96, we had sold that property, and now we're trying to get back in it. Just a little backstory. We're immigrants, or I am an immigrant, my parents. And my parents achieved the American dream. My father was an accountant, just a desk accountant, not a manager, not a CFO, nothing like that. He was just a desk tax accountant, cost accountant. And one day he already bought a little house, and then he found another house, and my mother had the idea to keep the house that they were in and buy the other house and rent the first house. And then they did it once, then they did it again, and then they did it again. And they did it to a point where they built a nice little portfolio of residential properties, and they achieved the American dream. They went to Miami, paid cash for a beautiful home in Miami, the whole thing, just like a storybook. And so I take a lot of inspiration from that. That's why our business is called Cross Gates Properties, and it has to do with, that was their first deal was in a place called Cross Gates in Delaware. So anyway, that's my story, and we're happy to be here.
Welcome.
Good. Welcome. We're glad you're here. All right. Jay Moles, you're up next.
Hi, my name is Jay. I work in IT in general, but I started investing starting in about 2019. I have 8 houses, and that's 17 units. I buy multifamily properties. Getting close to that 10 loan limit, so I got to start looking at alternative financing and things like that. I'm interested in learning a little bit more about subject to and seller-based financing, and then potentially private money, that type of thing. Also, as I grow, so in the buy and hold, and my so my portfolio in my first year, I made more than my W-2 job, which makes my boss very nervous. So, but so that's pretty much what we're doing. Vanessa, who's on the call, also is attached to me. So.
All right.
Welcome.
Well, we're glad you're here. Yeah. And Joe LaBera says it's best. He can't afford to work for somebody else. He's put himself in a position where he can't afford to work for somebody else. So, and it sounds like you're getting there too, Jay. And that's like one of the big goals, is to be able to put yourself in a position where, hey, things ain't working out with the job. Do you have other options? So,
Right.
Sounds like you're taking those steps. That's great. So, And well, what we'll do then too is she's not next on my list, but Vanessa V. We'll let her introduce herself. That's your wife, right, Jay?
Yeah, my girlfriend, but
Oh, your girl. Okay.
Someday my wife, but
Okay. Sorry to call you out. All right. Vanessa, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, so I'm here just to learn more about the investment side. As Jay said, he's the investor in our partnership here. I recently left my full-time job to do property management for our properties full-time. I also just got my real estate license, so I'm just here to learn more.
Great. Well, we're glad you're here. We're glad you guys are here together too. So that's really good. Make sure if you remember that, sign up and make sure you come together to the picnic that's coming up. So that'll be great. Okay. Justin Black, you're up next. Go ahead, Justin.
Hey, good
You're
evening.
muted, Justin, if you're talking.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, you're good. We can
Okay.
see you. We can hear
Yep.
you. You're good.
Awesome. So, good evening. My name is Justin Blair. I am originally from Rochester, New York. I'm currently living in Crofton, Maryland. So, about 30 minutes outside of Washington, D.C. I found out about your organization from an investor who is currently in Rochester right now, so a mutual friend. And I don't have any property right now. I listen to a lot of Bigger Pockets episodes and watch a lot of YouTube videos on how to get started in real estate investing. I have no experience. I had an opportunity to buy my mom's house. So I grew up in the city of Rochester and went to school at University of Buffalo, graduated there, got my master's at Roberts Wesleyan. So I'm always going back to Rochester, looking at the properties there, and I know it's a different market than when I grew up. Houses in the city were not selling for as much, so it's a different landscape than when I was coming up. But it intrigues me what's happening there. So I'm just looking to network and meet some other investors, and wherever that goes, it goes. But just looking to network and meet some folks there.
Excellent. Welcome. We're glad you're here. We're glad you're here.
So maybe you could connect with me or some of the other folks on the call. And, you're not really that far away, particularly when you compare where Allison is to yourself. She's all the way on the West Coast, and certainly there are folks on this call that would be more than willing to help you in any type of real estate investing that you really want to do. And we're one of those groups that our main job is to help people be successful. And that's the main objective.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate also the open invitation as well. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Next up is Gabriel. Gabriel, I see your background. I absolutely love it. If you guys can see video, turn that thing on, man. You are killing me. I saw that and started laughing. So, and I apologize, Jay, when you were talking. I started laughing. That's because I saw Gabe's background. So, Gabriel, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My
What do
name's
you
Gabe. Right now I'm doing trying to fix my damn screen. It doesn't work. Sorry, it's backwards, guys. But if you can read backwards, it says I want self-storage.
No, it reads the right way for me, Gabe.
Oh,
Just so you
okay.
know. Oh yeah, it's perfect.
Then okay, then I'm not gonna worry about it then. In any event, gentlemen or ladies and gentlemen, my name's Gabriel. I started FFREIA about 5-6 years ago, I think. And that's what I met my good friend and my good partner, Scott Spear, that's on the meeting today, my partner in crime. And all I do now is self-storage and all day, every day. So, I started in the restaurant business and had the wonderful opportunity to get out of that and exit that. And go into real estate investing full time. And through doing wholesaling and storage facilities, I will obviously grow into other ventures of storage as well. As Scott and I move along in our business. So it's going very well. We just closed our property on Wednesday, and we're going to close on another one, 2 more. I don't know, this month or this year. This month. Or something like that.
That's super. Absolutely super.
Thank you.
For a minute. It's up to you if you want to tell you this part, but partnering program is very early in it with the self-storage thing. But Gabe, you want to give them an idea how much you're made on the wholesale deal that you closed yesterday? It's okay.
Paid $50,000.
Dropping the bucket for Joe LaBarbera, who's not here.
Not a bad day. Well, Joe
That's a
quit,
good day.
remember?
Right.
Joe quit. So
He gave me all of his stuff. So now I've got all these cool places on Park Ave. I'm taking bids. Let's get a bidding war going right now.
Uh-huh. But yeah, Gabe wholesaled out, really nice self-storage deal all the way in New Mexico. Never been there, made a phone call, put everything together, put the deal together, and $50,000 wholesale fee. Not a bad day. It's unusual. Okay, that's one of those grand slams like in baseball. But very, very, very nice hit. So good job, Gabe. Real proud of you on that. So, and all right, next up I have Leon. You may have already introduced yourself, but Leon, you get the table twice because you're the most important one on this call.
Okay, yeah, I did introduce myself, talk about the picnic and all those things, and so I guess at this point I need to give folks a little bit of history. Leon Griggs. I started off in the state of Texas and ended up in the state of New York, and I moved here in the 70s and basically worked at Eastman Kodak Company, and it was a little bit different, let's put it that way. So after I took an early retirement from Kodak and right around 2005, 2006 time period, I was involved in Freedom First since the beginning. And all the way, Carl, all the way back to when we were at the Girl Scout place. and so it was interesting, and my involvement then was fairly limited. But as time went on, I became more involved, and I went through some quick calculation. I don't know whether it's 11 years or 12 years, but at least for that long, I've been president of Freedom First. And it has been some challenging times from the standpoint of trying to make sure that, one, we help the membership to do the things that you're doing, and two, we were able to ride all the ups and downs associated with being a real estate investment association over the last 10 years. And one of the things that we did was we became a chapter as a part of National FFREIA, and that was a big plus. We got some big things coming up, I hope, in the next 6 months or so. The main objective is to broaden what it is that we do as an organization to provide more options to people who are real estate investors in the state of New York. And even if you're outside of New York, it's one of those things where, to some extent, there's some challenges, for sake of better words, that exist in New York, and we want to give people options to invest outside of New York in places like my hometown of Houston, Texas, and some activities that go beyond that. But it's really to increase the horizon, if you will, about the things that you can do by being a real estate investor in Freedom First. So, and during that time period, I've done everything including, I should say, flip houses to mortgage notes to I normally have a portfolio of 12 or 14 houses that I own. Intentionally, I have them in not the good areas. sort of my strategy for giving back. My wife really doesn't like that at all. And so it's one of those things I've probably changed that portion of my portfolio. But there's very few things in real estate investing that I have not done. And I'm willing to share that with pretty much anyone, particularly, well, my caveat is you have to be a member of Freedom First. Otherwise, I'm not going to talk to you. I have too many other people who are interested and I'm going to talk to them. And those people who are interested are members of Freedom First. So quick take, I could go on and on. Back to you, Scott.
Perfect. And there you go. Having time with Leon one-on-one absolutely more than pays for your membership fee. Trust me, I've spent time with Leon. We spent a lot of time together. I've learned a lot from him and he's helped me a lot in my success. So just another value add to having a membership at FFREIA. So thanks, Leon. Next up, I'm going to say probably the furthest person from Rochester on this call. Allison, go ahead, Allison.
My name is Allison Russell, and I live in California, near Los Angeles. But I grew up in Cato, which is between Syracuse and Rochester. It's a little bit closer to Syracuse than Rochester, but eventually made my way out here. My husband was brilliant in that he bought our condo in 2010 at the bottom of the market. So he paid, I think, $190 for it, and now it's worth over $500. So we've always been very aggressive at paying down our mortgage and staying out of debt. So we had gotten close to paying off our mortgage completely. So what we did is we refinanced in February, pulled out a chunk of money to use to purchase rental properties. So I started getting involved with FFREIA just in January. So we sort of, we've been planning to do real estate for about 5 years, but kind of realized in the fall that we should go ahead and do it. And so it's been kind of a very fast thing where I think my first meeting was the first one in January, and they were going around asking everyone to create goals for the year. And so I said, well, I guess my goal then is to purchase a property by June, which felt quite daunting. But we purchased last month, and the contractor starts tomorrow on renovating it. It's going to be, currently things are in terms of lining up contractors, it's actually going our way right now, which I was very concerned that we wouldn't get it, that there's still a chance that we might not get it all done before the fall, but I think it looks like it's going to. Financially, everything is a whole lot more expensive than my realtor thought it would be. So I'm just crossing my fingers and hoping that it all works out. But the last meeting, there was a real estate investor from Syracuse who was on, Kelly Lane, and she's been fantastic in hooking me up. So actually, she had a great recommendation for a bank. So I'm working on getting a mortgage on the place because we bought it cash. So that's working out well. And she also sent me, she got some names of contractors for some stuff that my contractor wasn't going to be doing. And it looks like a couple of those are going to work out. So definitely there's a lot of benefits to being involved with FFREIA, because all these different people that I didn't know, suddenly they're helping get that property ready. So.
Excellent. Welcome.
Awesome.
Thanks. Glad you're here, Allison. Allison's been a big help for me too. I spent some time in San Diego and showed me some places to go see, and that was pretty cool. So, all right. Next up, Michael. I'm not even going to try to pronounce your last name because I will just probably ruin it. And
It's Voinovich, Scott. Nice meeting you.
Okay, great.
I've been in the New York area for a little over a year. I moved here from Wisconsin, and to take up a new career and work as parking, hardware and software. I'm like a service technician. I travel between Syracuse and Buffalo and Rochester, with accounts with that. But yeah, I really like real estate a lot. I haven't really, did my first deal. And as I told Leon, I attended a few meetings, but I'm kind of to a point that like, I think I'd really like to have a coach or a mentor kind of guide me and help me through the learning process. So Leon didn't really know anybody, and he said he was going to look for somebody, hopefully, maybe to hook me up with, or I could start learning so I can, I guess, do my first deal and learn all the stuff about it, and all the figures, and I guess all that's necessary of me, learning about this career and benefiting in some way or fashion. Both my parents are in heaven with the Lord. I have nobody to rely on but myself, and I've had a difficult financial life. A bad divorce and a whole lot of big expense with child support, and that ended a couple years ago. So I'm kind of trying to climb out of my hole and maybe do a little better for myself somehow. Not wanting to obtain millions of dollars, of course, but just I guess trying to breathe a little easier, and I guess some of that good stuff.
Great. Thank you, Michael. And this is a perfect segue into the next person. He happens to run one of the landlord meetings. Probably the most knowledgeable person in real estate in Rochester that I know, and also a coach, mentor, helps other people. So everybody knows who I'm talking about. It's Carl Weeks. So Carl, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about yourself.
Oh boy, thank you, Scott, for putting me on the spot. What I did was I did chat you. Let me know if that's appropriate, because it does involve alternative investing. So I have a question for Allison first. So California, you're local here, Syracuse and Rochester. What was the attraction? What got you here?
So you're asking why I invested in Syracuse and Rochester?
Versus, yeah, I know why you don't invest there in California. What was the connection here?
Well, I started analyzing properties about 5 years ago. So, I watched, like a lot of people, I watched Bigger Pockets, some videos and things, and learned about analyzing. So I picked a place to start analyzing. I thought, well, Syracuse, because I have family. Like my sister lives in Watertown. I have a lot of family out in Syracuse. I grew up there. I went to school in Syracuse. I went to grade school in Syracuse. So I just have a lot of contacts. So when I was thinking about where is a place where I'd want to visit, like if I needed to go there, I would have other reasons to go there. And also just having that network of people that I could call up, a very close family friend, they build houses. So having all of those connections. So I started analyzing in Syracuse, and then I started picking other cities. So I actually didn't analyze Rochester right away. I started just picking other cities in other states, and I could not get the same numbers that I was getting in Syracuse. It seemed fairly easy to find properties in Syracuse where you could make, like I said, sort of a minimum of $100 profit per door per month. I just said like, okay, that's sort of a minimum. And it was actually kind of hard to find in most other cities that I was looking at, but Syracuse, it seemed to actually be, pretty easy. Most of the properties were not that way, but you could, if you looked hard enough, it wasn't that difficult to find them. And so then sometime during the pandemic, I was reading an article that talked about a few smaller cities that were well poised for business growth because of investments that they had made. And Rochester was one of them. So I think they talked about there was a portion of the highway that was rerouted, wasn't there? And some of Rochester was one of the cities that was spotlighted as having done a lot of the some of the infrastructure work that's needed for business growth in the future. And so I thought, oh, that's, I should look into Rochester. So I started analyzing Rochester, and was also able to find good numbers. So that's sort of how I ended up picking those cities.
Awesome. So Syracuse and Rochester now. No properties yet in Rochester, right? Not yet.
No, not yet. And the Syracuse is going to kind of Syracuse property is absorbing a lot of capital costs or a lot of capital investment. So it's going to kind of stymie my efforts to invest in Rochester. But yes, eventually I do want to invest in Rochester. So
Gotcha. Scott, thank you very much. I went off script a little bit. I'm sorry about that. I wanted to hear Ellis's story. It's like pretty intriguing. We have California coming to local and just want to learn about that whole concept, because we get a lot of this. There's a ton of people from California, out of state, coming to this area. I'm just trying to get your firsthand, why is this happening, and you kind of identify that. Thank you. So I've been, as Scott knows, I've been doing this for 38 years full time. I've been through many cycles of real estate investing scenarios, and it's amazing. We're in an unprecedented time right now. It's really weird and different. So I've been involved with many transactions on the sales side, the buyer side, the property management side, hundreds of them locally. But in today's environment, it's changing often. I'm still learning stuff. Even though I got this experience, I'm still learning stuff that's changing all the time. But anyways, if anybody is in a looking for, I know this is alternative here, but if anybody's doing a buy hold kind of model where you want to buy, hold, and cash flow kind of thing, I'm the coach for that arena. If you want to reach out to me, I do help you with that coaching advice and pre-purchase consulting. So I get into that with you. I'm going to put it into into the chat another different kind of a alternative investing, which I've been doing for a number of years. It's worked out very well for me, and the chat will kind of speak for itself. And thanks, Scott, for allowing me to do that. Again, this is alternative investing. This is one. That's what I'm doing. It's my alternative investing outside of New York State. So that's just one way. Thank you, Ellison. We're good.
All right, thank you. And once again, with Carl, he's done some coaching with me too, and he's been a big help for me. So if you're looking, Michael, if you can see it in the chat, Carl's going to put his name and number in there. It's worth it. Give him a call. Please have a conversation with him, I would say.
I appreciate that, Carl. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Okay, next up, we have Luke. Luke, go right ahead. If you want to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, sure. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes, and we can see you this time.
The street. I've kept up the video since I've been moving here, but I'm Lucas Conley. I live in Los Angeles. I have family in Pittsford there, which got me looking at real estate for a second home for my family to visit. We have more family planning on moving to the area. And I just finished a rookie class with Bigger Pockets a couple months ago. I started with FFREIA. I think this is my third or fourth meeting. I've been analyzing properties to buy and hold an Airbnb, and have gone pretty deep on the numbers there and getting pretty close to buying. We have a pretty good idea of what we're looking for now, and feeling more confident about taking the leap.
Awesome. Welcome. Are you looking at Airbnb in the city limits proper, or are you looking elsewhere in Rochester?
Both. We've been keeping an eye on Rochester, Pittsburgh because of family, and then also in Canandaigua and Geneva City.
Nice. Well, if you're inside the city limits of Rochester, the zoning board right now is trying to ban Airbnbs in every part of Rochester. So just for everybody who is investing in Airbnbs,
really good to know. I haven't heard that.
they are not advertising it because it's not in front of the city council, but Josh runs he's a former member. He runs a Airbnb networking group, and they actually had about 20 or 25 people show up to the zoning board meeting. I think it was either yesterday or Tuesday, to try and get it slowed down and or stopped. So more news is pending, but city limits of Pittsford's not in that city limits for most of it. A little corner of Pittsford is, but very little. But like Penfield, Greece, Arundecoit, they're all being impacted by the Airbnb ban or pending Airbnb ban, because they're not trying to do it via codes. They're just going to change the zoning and write it into the zoning law. So they're trying to slide it under.
Okay. Okay.
Just
That's really interesting. The advice I picked up so far that's probably the best is from a book called short-term real estate, long-term wealth. And it was to look for the regional vacation markets, because they've had short-term rentals for decades in these, national park areas, around the Finger Lakes, things like that, where the communities are happy to have short-term rentals. So the regulations are unlikely to change. The taxes are unlikely to change. Things are pretty set. That urban areas are in a lot of upheaval right now. So thanks for that tip.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I think your latter comment was absolutely correct. But in most of the cities, particularly in New York, Buffalo is a good example. Andy talked a little bit about what's happening in Rochester. Basically, the basic component that Rochester is looking at right now is basically saying, if you want to do Airbnb and you're in Rochester, then you need to live in the property. So, that shuts down a lot of possibilities and opportunities. So it's going to be interesting to see where we come out at. Clearly, in the very beginning, I don't know whether you want to call it or not, Luke, we were I said that one of the things we were looking at was the possibilities of doing things outside of New York as maybe one of the options. And so, for example, if you're in Ohio, which is right next door, Ohio basically says, we're going to pass laws that's going to say that it's okay for everybody to do Airbnbs, just the opposite of what it is here. And it's one of those interesting dynamics associated with politics and life in America. You're going to have one group that's going to say they want to take one approach, and another one is going to be pushing for something else. So I guess the key thing here is you got to sort of keep tuned to what's coming out of each one of the areas over the course. Let me just sort of stop and say a different piece associated with Freedom First is that as a national REIA organization, one of the key things we do is we address politics. We address what are the things that we are supportive of as an organization. And that is supported, that's basically supports the thoughts and ideas of our membership. And it's one of those things that is pro and positive real estate investing and small business versus big conglomerates that want to take control of everything. So when you start looking at Airbnb, the parts that should jump right out at you is in almost any state, what happens is a portion of the taxes, there are fees for how many nights you stay there, and it all goes back to the state. So the state of New York, it goes back to the local local cities and towns, and it also goes back to the counties. So when you're putting something in place like Airbnb, you're really attacking that whole structure. So it's one of those things where, you know what they say, it's all in those dollars. And when you start looking at the dollars and how they break down, then all those towns and counties and states are gonna be feel a little bit attacked because now where are they gonna get the taxes from associated with that? So their Holiday Inn that they had on the corner is gonna close because they don't have monies coming in the way that they would normally expect to. So it's very dynamic, and the key thing is to keep your ears to the ground and try to make sure you understand what's happening, what's going on. Certainly as an organization, and we'll have members that are already fighting what is being proposed from an Airbnb perspective. Back to you, Steve.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Yeah. Go ahead.
One thing
I
I
was
would,
gonna say-
I would add. I'll stand back. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, in my opinion, Airbnb is bringing a lot of money to the community. Anybody staying in Airbnb is looking for a restaurant, you know, they're looking for things to do, museum, attend a function, something like that. But it's typical Rochester City. It always happens this way with them. And it also could be the pressure coming down from the hotels and motels in the area saying, oh, we're losing so much revenue because all the Airbnbs, you know, we can't stay here. So that could
Exactly.
be some of the pressures coming.
There was a party with a shooting too over the weekend, which did not
That's
help.
good. No. One of the things I noticed is
okay.
we started looking at Arizona first, and there the Airbnb lobby got in years ago with the governor and essentially made it a property right issues from the top down. So the governor said cities cannot ban Airbnbs. People have unlimited right to Airbnb their property. And that was roughly 5 years ago. The problem is it's gone so buck wild that all the cities have begun really pushing back, and it looks like there's going to be a regulatory change in Arizona so that it will no longer be a right to Airbnb your property because neighborhoods have been turned inside out with too many Airbnbs. So I can see how this is going to be a bit of a tug of war in the cities all around the U.S. for a while. So it does kind of push me out towards the Finger Lakes more.
Yeah. All right. Continuing on, great conversation, and we'll definitely come back to that. Marlene. Marlene, you're up next. Go right ahead, Marlene. If you want to introduce yourself. I know you've been around a few times, but let's hear what you have going on. And tell us a little bit about yourself.
If she's there.
If
She may have just logged in
Okay.
because she wanted to see what was going on. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But she's our treasurer. She pays the bills for FFREIA. Raw. Thanks, Marlene. All right. Anyway.
Okay. Next up, Savon Holt. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself if you're there.
I'm here. Sorry, it's hot today.
That's okay. There
But
you
my
are.
name is Savon. I am a licensed practical nurse here in the Rochester area, and I'm just now trying to get into the real estate. And so I just joined Freedom First today as a member. And so I just want to soak up as much knowledge as possible. My goal is to flip homes and to own a couple of multifamilies if possible.
Cool.
Excellent.
Welcome.
Welcome to the. Okay. I have to do a little intro. Dee Thompson, unfortunately, has a voice issue. It's a bit scratchy from cheering at a game. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. She is a FFREIA administrative assistant. So in other words, she keeps everything. She keeps us all on track and all that. And also she's an agent at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. So she knows about investing in real estate. If you're looking to work with a broker, there's a couple of them. There's Dee, and of course there's Leon's lovely wife too, that I'll let Leon tell about. But she was at a cheerleading competition in Irondequoit and got a little excited and all that. So unfortunately, we're not going to hear her voice today, but she always has a presence in FFREIA. So that's Dee. And okay, Marlene, everybody sees could not access her microphone. Marlene, if it changes, let us know. And let's see. With Leon, you want to talk a little bit about your lovely wife and what she does too?
Absolutely. Basically, she's a real estate broker. She owns her own business. She's been involved in real estate investing and Freedom First for as long as I have. When I said earlier, that's 11 or 12 years. She understands some components associated with real estate investing a lot better than I do. And whenever I need someone to tell me whether I'm off base or not, she would say to me, "You're crazy. Why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense." And so the standard things that you get from your wife and someone who's just fundamentally, going to give you the straight scoop, for sake of better words. She also there's so many things in real estate that she's done. She's done things like, for example, the house we live in, it was a tract when we bought it, we bought the lot back in 1990. So we built a house, we live in it now, and we lived in it for 30 years. And that was something we were able to do because of her and her real estate investing opportunities and capabilities. And basically there's not too many components of real estate that she hasn't worked in, from building the houses to from working with owners where they had a whole tract of houses to sell, to working with people all over the world, whether they were in Pakistan or England, and those are examples of some of the folks that she's worked with. So really great understanding of the fundamentals of real estate investing. And so, if someone is interested, clearly, as Scott indicated, we have several real estate investors that are also agents, and they're really good at what they do. Mary Jane is one of them. Colleen Bracci is another. And as you indicated, Scott, D. Thompson is also into real estate investing. And you could pick almost any one of those individuals, and you would want to do that because their view and scope of what is needed to be successful as a real estate investor is many times greater than what would happen if you just pick someone off the street, for sake of better words. So yeah, highly capable, and always surprised at what her capability is. I mean, one of the things that we do and have done in the past is really help people to understand the complete list of things that are necessary if you're going to be successful as a real estate investor. I'm sort of hesitating then because one of the things I do is I say, well, we got a call that's coming in from someone, and they want to know about their house and whether they can sell the house or what it is that they should be doing with the house. I don't take that call. I just give her the number and say, okay, talk to these guys, figure out what's happening, what's going on. So that's just a quick, short synopsis of what it is that she does.
All right, great. Thank you, Leon. And if you could, Leon and Dee, if you guys could put Leon, in your case, Mary Jane's phone number and email address in the chat if you want to. That way people can reach out to you guys. So I'll leave that up to you too, if you want to do that.
Okay.
So we got everybody, and yep, I'll make sure no one reacts. Okay, great. Now we go around the room, we do have needs, wants. If you're looking for a piece of property, if you're looking for a contractor, if you have a piece of property you want to sell, all that, if you have money you want to lend or you're looking to borrow money, that's where we bring this up. And I'm going to start off, and then we're going to wrap up with Gabe. So Gabe, you're going to go last because we're both going to say the same thing. I'm looking for self-storage anywhere in the country, pretty much anywhere in the world right now. And if the deal makes sense, I'll work it a few different ways. I'll either pay a referral fee, I'll bring you in as a partner, Or I will do both. I'll give you a finder's fee and make you a partner in the property if you want. So that's what I'm looking for, self-storage anywhere. That's it. That's it for me. Who else has to have needs, wants? Gabe, you're going last. Haha. Everybody has everything they need.
Marlene is looking for property on the water. Yeah.
So Scott, you were not here last time, I don't think, right? Joe was on.
Not the last evening session. I was on in the morning session, but yeah, not the last
The
evening session.
PM one, right? So the past couple months, so my need is, I'm still looking for a 3-bedroom a ranch in Aroniquite or Greece in Rochester. That's still out there, so. Anybody who's wholesaling, hit me up.
All right. Okay, Savon, I guess you're being quiet, not announce it. I'll read it in the chat. I'm looking for someone to help me get started in the industry. Savon, if you look back in the chat, or Carl can put his number back in there. Carl's a good resource to reach out to. You know, I would say if you're looking to get into rentals or flipping, Carl's going to be a good place for you to reach out to. Leon also, as long as you're a paid member, reach out to either one of those two, unless there's somebody else who'd like to offer up their services too.
Okay, thank you.
Another one too is D. You might want to reach out to Mary Jane. I'd reach out to her. Her phone number's in the chat. And then D, if she's going to put her number in the chat, I'll leave that up to her. There you go. Marlene too. Marlene said she can help you out. Can you see the chat, Savon?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Who else? Go
Scott,
ahead.
Scott, I just have 2 questions, an easy one and a more difficult one. The easy one is, I am really pleasantly surprised that this group of about 15 people has people from literally like around the country. And I thought this was kind of a more national group, but it looks like it's a little bit of both. It's kind of Rochester centric with people, you know. So is this how it usually runs? I'm just pleasantly surprised by it.
Yeah, this group, we run this group this way. And you're right, it is mostly people, I'm going to say based in Rochester. I myself, born and raised in Rochester, invested in Rochester. Rochester, in my opinion, is probably the best market to make money in. If you can't make money in Rochester, don't try to do it someplace else, especially people.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
So that's the easy question. Then the more difficult one is, let me preface the next question, which my wife is asking, by saying this. I actually wrote a blog that's in our website, and we haven't published our website yet because Sharon's still working on it. But I wrote a blog in my website about mortgage rates. I'm old enough to say that she and we bought a house in 1980, and we had an 18% mortgage rate because we had good credit. Bad credit was 21% mortgage. We had a mortgage at 18%. And we survived through it, and we made money in every house that we bought and sold in mostly Pennsylvania over the years, even with double-digit mortgage rates. Having said that, by way of background, my wife is asking, under the current economy, the markets are tanking and so forth, what is the sort of the outlook, the pull of the outlook for real estate investments in the next, say, 5 years of this group?
I want somebody else to answer that question.
The best person to answer that question is Andy McQuaid.
I don't know what you're talking about. That's my full-time job. So it's going to be a little ugly. They did say that housing values in Rochester have started dropping, but the biggest thing comes down to the numbers. If you can manage to buy the property, buy the materials to fix it up, find the labor at a reasonable price, and still cash flow in the positive versus what your note is that you have to pay every month, you can make money doing it. Rochester still has some of the highest cap rates in the country when it comes to, you know, owning and operating properties in this market. Are there better markets for it? It depends on your risk tolerance and your ability to put up with crappy government regulations and stepping on your toes every 2 minutes. But people absolutely make a living here all the time, and they're very successful at it. And, you know, you look at Carl's been through the ups and downs. He's been managing properties in Rochester when there were 18% mortgages and he got them the cash flow. You know, Carl's probably managed something like 6,000 or 7,000 different doors in Rochester. He's covered a lot of the inner city and a lot of the outskirts, and he knows what it is to have to break his break himself to make money. Let's put it that way. But it can be done for sure. It's not the end of the world by any means, and it's probably going to decline a lot less than the stock market already has. So I'll throw that out there. And yeah, more pain to come. Wait for September. It'll be fun.
Andy, I agree, Louis. If you don't mind, you and I came from the same mold. I mean, early '80s. I remember those interest rates. But to answer your question, I mean, where are we going, right? So, again, my opinion is that, you know, we've been in a bubble. We've been exploding here. Like Allison, you exploded. I remember 2004, I think what it was. You guys blew up out there. But we're kind of experiencing it here. And my opinion is we're going to see a cooling off of prices, rental prices. You know, it's got to cool off, and it's going to happen. I don't know when. It might be a year or 2 years. But you know that's my opinion. It's the outlook as to what's going on, based upon my observation, my experience. So, anybody else?
Well, just a quick comment would be to coming back from the same time period that Carl is talking about. I absolutely agree with Carl and Andy's comments. Clearly, the big question is how long it's going to last and how bad is it going to be. We really don't have an ability to know that at this point. And so you just want to be safe with your numbers and try to make sure that what you do is fairly conservative during these time periods. Because it's really hard if the numbers are headed south when you start off, then they're not south at that point in time. They're in Nicaragua or Central America someplace, you know. So it's and as I said earlier, you know, the numbers are the key. If you can buy the property right, then there's a number of ills that can be addressed. Certainly, if you buy a house and you thought it was a house and you get there's no house, that, you know, that's another story. Okay, but certainly, I think that the times as we go forward are going to be substantially more challenging than they are today. And we really don't know what that level is going to be at this point in time. Just hope that it's short in duration, and in severity, it's moderate.
I think there are reasons to be hopeful, and maybe it could be that I'm having wishful thinking since I just purchased something. But Carl, you were asking me before about why I invested in the area, and one thing I didn't mention is I thought about too as well, you know, what kind of natural resources there are in the area, and there is a whole lot of water, fresh water there. And that's something that I think, you know, being here in Southern California, and Luke can attest to this, we're on the front lines of the climate warming up. So it's in our faces every day. So this morning I woke up and I was like, there's a wildfire somewhere. I can smell it in the air. Something's burning. And the summer times, you know, they're saying this summer, they're expecting it to be very hot. It's like, wow, okay, very hot here means historically, our historic high was 117, and it's only happened once, you know, and but the summer before, I think it got up to 116, which was a record at the time, and we keep breaking records in terms of heat, whether it's during the winter or during the summer, and we're in this major drought. It sounds like it's worse than the drought that we had a multi-year drought that ended for about one year, and then we're in the middle of another big drought that sounds like it's worse than before. So I know some areas you're not allowed to water the grass. You know, your grass just has to die. And what they keep telling us is that it's really getting real. You know, that the risk of not having enough water is pretty serious. So, you know, a lot of people are leaving California because of housing prices, but also it's just getting very hot, and they have to deal with water restrictions. And so when I think about where people would want to move, I'm thinking they want to move someplace that's not as hot and where they don't have to think about using water. They can just use their water. And Syracuse and Rochester have cold weather and water in spades. So I think that too, I mean, I think that just thinking going forward, if these trends that we're seeing with the climate are, you know, continue, then people wanting to move to the area, it might continue.
Allison, this is Luke. Your instincts are absolutely dead on. One of the things I noticed is there's a recent climate study that pointed to upstate New York as one of the areas of the country that's least likely, it might be the least likely to see dramatic change based on the next 50 years of climate change predictions.
So I'm seeing in Rochester is a great place to invest. And the coming years here, the next few years should be great. As Carl indicated, we're in a bubble. At some point that's going to break, should bring prices down. Even though the interest rates are going up, eventually they're going to drop back down again. So even if you get a house now, you know, you can refinance in the future. And the kind of numbers I invest in the city of Rochester, the properties I get are I will call them bump and dent properties. But basically they're, you know, not that much renovations that have to be done. The tenants don't expect it to look like I'll use California as an example. They don't expect them to look like California properties with granite countertops and things like that. So it's, you know, it's very, very affordable, very, you know, and I see huge returns from each unit. So, and as I go through new tenants, for instance, a lot of the properties I buy, the landlords had extremely low rents. So much so that when I say I'm going to raise the rent on somebody, you know, they're paying $450, and I would raise the rent on them, you know, a little bit. Which is weird. They can't go anywhere else for less than I'm raising it to, but they'll leave, and the new person coming in, and for example, is paying $900 for one of the apartments that, you know, was paying $450. A lot of the apartments that, you know, and I'm still under market. So doubling the rent, get double the money is still, you know, under market. And all of the properties that I buy, one tenant pays the mortgage, at least pays the mortgage, and they're multifamilies. So the next, you know, if it's a duplex, you know, it's all big profit. If it's a triplex, it's even bigger profit. You know, so most of mine are duplexes, and then I have a couple of triplexes. You know, and even my single family house is on the side of the city where everybody wants to live. So that's, you know, the Merchants Winton area. A lot of people want to live there. So right now that one's getting ready to be re-rented out. and we're showing it right now. And, you know, the rents in that area have, you know, like ballooned immensely. So it's, you know, Rochester is a great place to make a you know, a great profit. And I see the year, like I said, I see the years ahead as being even better. You know, all of the things that affect the economy, you know, you've got the you know, cost of everything is going up. Well, that means rents are going up. So if you bought it at a reasonable price, you know, the rents are going up, means you're going to get bigger profit. You know, interest rates are going up, which means less people are going to buy. You know, a lot of people have moved out of buying. So you buy up those properties for less because less people are competing with you. So it's I see it as being very, very good.
Great. All right, Louis, does that answer your question? Louis?
Yeah, just one more. And Jay reminded me of someone that I know. I'm a poll inspector for the elections, and I met another fellow that was also a poll inspector. And during COVID, his sole source of income was renting out 3 rooms in his big house. And during the eviction moratorium, one of the tenants turned out to be a bad tenant, drove out the other 2, and he couldn't get rid of the 3rd. So therefore, he had no income for over a year, like close to 2 years. How do things in New York affect, you know, like eviction moratoriums and all that? How do things like that affect those of you who are already renting, and how did that affect your business process and your thinking about renting as opposed to just renovating and selling?
For me,
before we answer that question,
Great question.
hold on, Jay, before we answer that question, it's a great question. I do want to come back to it. We're in the have needs wants part of this, and then it's going to go into questions. So what I want to do is, I know there's a couple other people who want to go over the have needs wants. Let's do that. And then I certainly want to go back and talk about that. And then we'll have a quick question and answer on that. So does anybody else have any other have needs wants, anything you're looking to sell or looking to buy right now?
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm looking for contractors. So I need to get a bigger list of contractors. So that's my you know, wants and needs at the moment.
Andrew, you're looking in Rochester, is that right?
Yeah. Yep. I have some. So I mean, we're getting some stuff done, but you know, if I have a bigger list of contractors, I can buy more houses and have more. You know, it allows you to grow a little bit more. So during COVID, it was hard to get contractors. They didn't want to work, or even, you know, I'll pick on a lot of the contractors around here. I don't know how or why, but they all got $6,000, and contractors are, you know, once they get money in their pocket, they disappear. You know, unfortunately, a lot of them are, you know, drug addicts and drink and stuff, and they disappear until the money's gone. So I had a whole bunch of work to do for these guys that I had, you know, was having do, and all of a sudden the guy that actually did the work disappeared, and you know, and left me with a lot of work that didn't get done. So we have some people now, you know, that don't fall under the typical you know, contractor, you know, more responsible people, that type of stuff. But it's good to have a bigger list of people to call, you know, especially when, you know, if somebody's busy and they can't get to you in a week or two, and you need something done immediately, you know, we need a bigger list.
Yeah, let me just speak to that for a moment. I know Carl has got some input that he wants to provide, but there are a lot of things that I've learned over the last, over quite a few years of investing in real estate. You can tell people where they can go buy a house. You can tell people where they're going to get a whole bunch of money. but one of the things you don't do is tell them where your contractors are. Because it is so hard to find people who are capable. By capable, I mean they're good at what they do, and they are reasonable, and when they say they're gonna do something, they actually do it. And so, Jay, you're right on point. I do have a couple of contractors. I don't think I'm gonna give those to you tonight, but you know, it's one of those things of it is a big challenge, particularly with COVID. And all the things that's went on during COVID with the eviction moratorium. You say, well, eviction moratorium, what did that got to do with contractors? You know, so if you're a contractor and you don't necessarily pay any rent and you can just live in the property and not be evicted, or, you know, I mean, there's so many outs that they have had over the last couple of years that is really a challenge to find good people who are capable and who are going to be there when they say they're going to be there and do the work that's going to be done. I'm working on a property right now. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, and basically I'm sort of stuck. I had a person who was doing electrical and the plumbing, and after 6 months they disappeared. I haven't seen them since then. But this was somebody I knew. I knew their grandfather. Okay, but and I selected them because I knew they were highly capable. So without going on and on and on, I mean, it's one of those things where when it comes to contractors and those sorts of things, it becomes really, really tough to find folks that are dependable.
Yep.
Okay.
330
So,
units of work that's going to take over a year. And we had painters lose their crews like 2 weeks into the job, and we had the owners out there painting for like 2 weeks until they could hire more people. It's just, it is what it is right now. It's
All right.
hell.
If you have a contractor, then do it over to Jay. Yeah, Carl, if you have a contractor, go ahead, give it to Jay.
No, Leon said it the best, you know, being reasonable, know your stuff, reliable, the three main components. And you need to pay for that, okay? You need to pay for that. You pay for what you get for it. I have found success for a long time utilizing Craigslist. Now you might think, oh, I tried that before. No, you need to do it in a way to create competition. So what I do is I actually put out RFPs, requests for proposals. So I actually put the whole job description, pictures. Justin, you're saying yes over there. Job descriptions with pictures. I get the full scope out there, and I hit anybody in that category. I hit out there 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I hit them out there. It's about numbers and see who comes back at you. Who's hungry? Who wants to take that on? And you're going to tell them right in there, I want a reasonable price. You need to be reliable. You need to know your stuff. So that it's worked very well for me for the last, ever since Craigslist started. And I got many of my reliable contractors through that process.
All right, great. Thanks, Carl. All right. Have needs, wants. Anybody else? If not, I'm gonna let Gabe go last. And also, Gabe, I think has a question too, so I'm gonna let him ask his question. So
Before you just go to that, Scott, I just say, I'm always looking for properties that I can rehab and flip in the suburbs and in A-B portions of the city. Just give me a call if you got something.
anybody else?
This is Luke. I should probably speak up and say I'm focused now on the Finger Lakes area. So if anybody's got anything that's Airbnb-able or needs a facelift to be Airbnb-able in the Finger Lakes area, I'd love to hear about it.
Luke is smart. He's going right where the money is. Oh, I love you.
All right. Gabe, your turn. And you can ask your question too.
Okay,
after
thank
answer
you.
it, so.
So my haves, needs, and want. My needs is I'm gonna echo a lot of what Scott said is earlier about storage. Anywhere, yeah, anywhere in the world. Numbers are numbers. If it works in Canada or Alaska, even, yes, and even Illinois, I'll go there too. I don't care. I mean, if the numbers work, I'll go there and get it any size, shape. 10,000, actually 10,000 square feet and above is ideal. 5,000 will work as long as there's 4 acres of land to expand or whatever. But in any event, though, the anywhere in the world is good, and the numbers work. Please bring it to my attention, and I'll look at the numbers and look into it, and Scott and I will take it over and do our magic. So, but don't if you have something, don't say, well, I got this for you, I might have that. You just give me the information, I'll take care of the rest. Just that's all. But I thank you for that, though. Thank you.
Good. And do you have a question, Gabe, or are you all set?
Well, the meeting, I don't know, the meeting's almost done, so I don't know if, I mean, it's kind of about that North Carolina guy. I don't know if I want to bring it up to the group or not. It's been bothering me since last night, dude. And I want to know what other people think I should do. If I should call him or not. I don't know.
Have you talked to Joe?
No, that's a different guy. No, that's no. I know what you're talking about. No, I haven't talked to him yet. I haven't called him yet, but I'm talking about the other place in North Carolina that with his wife. Remember the guy been trying to call for a week now, so I wasn't sure what to do about that one.
Well, throw it out there if you want.
Okay. Okay. Real quick. This guy in North Carolina, this property, I think he owns like 3 or 4 facilities at least, and I've been chasing him since March 31st. I finally got a hold of him last week because his wife said, I'm not going to sell one location, I'm going to sell another one. So the property is 30,000 square feet, 6 acres of land. Beautiful property. It's the kind of property that I want to look deeply into and become an equity partner with Scott or some other alternative or whatever on. There's a lot of opportunity. The point I'm trying to make is that I called this guy. I got a hold of him last week. We actually talked for 5 minutes. He asked me to email him my credentials. I emailed him. I texted him that day to follow up. He said, I got your email. That was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I've been calling him every day and texting every day since. And I called his wife. Forget about his wife. I'm not going to go there. She's not important right now. But more importantly, though, how do I get a hold of this guy? And then yesterday I tried calling him again and follow up. Like this guy just went off the face of the earth. He wants to sell a property. I know he does. He told me, I want to sell this property and I'm not sure if I want to list it. So I'm trying to get him to not list it. And so here I am. Let me buy it from you. And he's just not responding to my phone calls or texts. At this point, what can I do? I know if I have to walk away, I'll walk away. Fine, whatever. But is there anything with your guys' experience I should do? Because it's been bothering me since last night and I couldn't sleep. I'm telling you the truth, Scott. Most things don't bother me, but this really bugs me. I mean, I know. I just want to know what you guys think. If anyone has any suggestions, please. Because it's pissing me off. I'm sorry.
We got any input for that? Andy McQuaid might.
Oh, sorry, I'm muted. Is he playing you against another buyer?
No, not that I know of.
Would he tell you? Probably not.
No, of course not.
I don't know. How many times did you talk to him?
Once, actually on the phone once, and he texted once only.
I'd probably give it a couple days. Maybe he's on vacation with his kids for Father's Day. I have no idea. But
yeah. One of Gabriel, one of the things is you're showing your motivation, and when you show your motivation, you lose. So
I know
you might be playing it, and just take it in stride. Be tactful. Don't show your motivation. Hey, I'm here. I'm a buyer. Let's go. Wake up.
Yeah, I agree with what Carl just said.
Yeah.
And I think that it's important that you don't show your motivation, but get back to him. You
Well,
know, that's
yeah.
a challenge, you know, because you don't want to come off as, oh, whatever you do is fine. You want to come off as, okay, I'm interested. What is it that you want to do? And does the numbers fit together? Carl, what do you think about that? I see you move your hand.
Hey, hold on. Same thing, this, it's my last, you reached out. It's my last call. It's my last call. Reach out. It's my last call. It's just,
I'm looking for right now is the numbers. That's all I want. I mean, I'm not looking to have a conversation on it because I know, I mean, just give me the numbers, and just let me do my work kind of thing. I'm not, I'm trying to build a relationship, of course, but I mean, I just need one component, the first component of the project. And I can even have a phone call, just return my phone call. That's all I'm asking for,
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it depends on, I mean, because we're in somewhat of a personal sort of thing, and what is best for you and what you sort of the approach you sort of take. My approach is that if you want to come back to me and you talk to me, okay, but there needs to be some substance to the discussion. And part of that substance means that, you're going to at least let me know what it is that you're trying to do. And I never say, don't call me back or indicate that, I'm not interested, because life is life and things always change.
Mhm.
And so it may be a year from now, and you may say, oh, I don't want to have nothing to do with you because your number's not right. And I say, okay, that's fine. Just call me back if things change. And I know Carl does this, okay, but I'm just sort of clarifying. I've known Carl for a long time. Carl is not going to let that person sort of get off the hook by saying, okay, well, we're done. No, he's not going to say that. He's going to say, well, if things don't work out right, give me a call back. And that's the general approach that you always must take, because you never know what comes around goes around. And that person will be in a position where they really need to have someone help you, and that person that's going to help them is going to be you. It's happened to me so many times, okay? And so we're sort of into the discussion of what do you do and how do you address things when you're talking to sellers, and it is when I'm on that phone call and I have a discussion with that person, when I'm all done in the end, I want that person to leave the call with more self-esteem than when they started the call. If that meant that they felt better because they had a one-up on me, then that's fine. When things go wrong, just call me back so that I can help you and I can get a good deal on the property that you're trying to sell.
Yeah, but I haven't even had that opportunity yet to give them that self-esteem, to get that kind of phone call. Like there has been no conversation whatsoever to where I try to build some kind of rapport or anything. It just has been nowhere to. I mean, I've been calling and calling and calling. I just feel like I'm like beating my head against the wall, if you will. And it's like, how far is too far? When should I don't want to give up, but should I give up? It's like,
no, you don't ever give up, because you don't close the door. The door is open. You come back and you talk to me when you have something you want to sell. You don't want to close the door. The door can only be closed by that person and that person not calling you, because when they need help, you want to be the person that's there to help them. And if it doesn't work at that point in time, it just doesn't work. But you don't want to close the door so that they call someone else and that they don't call you. You want them to call you so you can give them your best offer, because your best offer is you reaching out to them and saying, here's what I can do. And if you close the door, you never get an opportunity to say that.
Okay.
Gabe, other than in a phone call, do you have access to email and texting to communicate?
Yes.
Okay. So I think, conveying the message, listen, I reach out soon because I have to move on to other deals, talk to me, that kind of, Scott, what's your suggestion and what's your recommendation for Gabe on a scenario like this?
Gabe and I talk quite often, and I'm with you guys. You know, it's kind of, it does get frustrating. Somebody tells you want to sell something, and then they're like, "Who falls?" And they fall at the end of your, and maybe sometimes just a couple days, you know, just might make a difference.
Step back. Yeah, if you're pounding him every day, not good.
Yeah.
Step back a little bit, send the proper message, which is, hey, I'm here. I know you're busy. Reach out. Here's my point of contact, 1, 2, and 3. Hey, let me know. And sit back for a couple of days. You know, don't display that motivation. And if the guy's serious, he'll reach out to you. If he's not, that's a guy you may not want to deal with. Not now, but over time, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Carl just said. You know, when I'm talking to a person who's a seller, I mean, I feel very uncomfortable if they're calling me every day and we're not getting somewhere. It's like, call me back when you're serious. Okay, I'm always here to help you. No question about that. I'll do everything I can to help you. But someone calling me every day to say, well, this and that and that and that. No. That's not something that is helping the situation. So my approach is always to have the person understand that my main objective is to come to a common ground where we both feel comfortable.
Yeah, I just hope that I don't get to the point where I see the property listed on LoopNet or something one of these days. I'm like, oh my God, I lost because he didn't return my phone call or whatever, you know? I'm trying to avoid that at all costs, to get it just to me directly instead of going on with a listing agent. So that's my ultimate goal, of course, is to get him return my phone call.
Yep. I don't know. I'm not the hard sell guy. I throw it out there and I might follow up once in a while. In your case, it's a little different because you don't want anybody else to snipe that. But I would just send them a message, just be like, hey, listen, I know you're probably busy. Have a happy Father's Day weekend.
Okay.
Here's my contact info. You know, shoot me a note when you're ready to throw numbers, because depending on how mismanaged the place is, he may not have numbers. I mean, how many businesses do you walk into? They have no idea what the hell they're doing or how they're paying their bills.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean,
Right. What's the number? Right. So maybe they don't know what the numbers are. Maybe you freaked him out.
Yeah.
You ask for numbers. He doesn't have any numbers. What is he supposed to do?
Right. And Gabe, you could play him a little bit too, going, hey, you know, I got to move on to my next deal. It's a great deal. You know, I'm here for you. I got to move on. You know, play that kind of thing. You know, just, you know, instill some, you know, motivation for him to communicate. If he doesn't, no big deal. Move on.
Okay. All right. It is what it is. It's just bothering me. That's all.
All right, does that help, Gabe?
Yes. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. We usually end at 8:30. I know we're into overtime here, and that's okay. And Louise, we'll come back to your question for sure. Carl, you do the meeting next week, right, Carl?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I know that the question Louise has really would be answered at that meeting, because you're going to have so many other landlords there. But go ahead and tell everybody about the meeting that you're holding next week. Is it live? Is it Zoom? How does it work? And just tell everybody what it is.
Yeah. So next week it's not Zoom. Sorry, Allison. It's in person only, as Da Vinci is, but it's aimed for do-it-yourself property managers, buy and hold models. You have properties here, and you want to learn about techniques and strategies to effectively manage your properties here in Rochester. It's about property management. So next, it's gonna be awesome, because I'm one of the most difficult and time-consuming part of managing property is renting and screening, right? Showing, renting and screening. So I'm going to show ways to reduce your time totally so that you have minimum time to attract quality tenants without you getting burnt out. It's a very burnt out stage of the process. So I'm going to show you some ways that you can do that. And so that you don't get burnt out and do it effectively and attract quality tenants right off the bat. So that's my program next Thursday.
Great. Okay, what I'm gonna do at this point, I'm committed to calling somebody else, and since I joined you guys 15 minutes late, I put in the extra 15 minutes. I'm gonna myself sign off. You guys can definitely stay on and talk. Louise, I know you had a question, and I think that it can, did you drop off? Yeah, he did. Oh, no, he's still there. Okay, sorry. And maybe somebody else can stay on and help you with that question, but I myself, I'm going to drop off. Thanks everybody for joining. This was a great meeting. I'm glad everybody got
Thanks,
to do
Scott.
intros
Thanks,
and ask
Scott.
questions.
Yeah,
Yeah,
buddy.
thanks,
So-
Scott.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Yeah, good night.
Who had the question?
Yeah, Louise. had the
Louise did.
Yeah.
The question is basically how to navigate New York's system of things like eviction moratoriums and all that. And I gave the example of someone I know who was living from rent, and for almost 2 years he had no rent because of a combination of a bad tenant and eviction moratorium. You know, things were really south for him there. And I'm just thinking, as my wife and I contemplate, eventually, not in the beginning, but eventually, unless something falls in our lap, buying whole rent, then do we really want to do that in New York is my basic question. Why? Because there are other states. I could be in Miami tomorrow morning looking at property because I'm from Cuba and I have all my family there. I could be in Miami tomorrow morning looking for property, but my family is here, you know, my children. So I'd like to stay around here, but I'm weighing in the balance. Should I, you know, and Allison made a great case for why we're still living in upstate New York. On the other hand, we have Albany in the way, so to speak. So how do we navigate Albany?
Louis,
Yeah.
you said it so well. If anybody else, I'll jump in on this question. Louis, you said it so well. So we are in a very, very smart assessment you made. We are in a very difficult time. Very heavily regulated stuff going on out there. And if you're not up to speed, I said my recommendation is don't get into this market. If you're in a buy hold model, either you need to learn about all of the rules and regulations and assess your risk, or if you don't want to do that, get out of New York. I mean, there are if you have other places better to invest than here, my recommendation is just to go there. It's a risky environment based upon, you know, regulations, laws, rules, moratorium, all the stuff that's going on. And if you're not aware of that stuff, yeah, you're at big risk right here. So either become fully aware and learn of that to minimize your risk, or if you don't want to do that, you know, have somebody that does do that stuff. Otherwise, like you just said, Louis, you know, you have Florida down there. If you're very well acquainted to Florida, you know the stuff down there, and it's going to work for you down there. Go down there. You don't want to try to spend all that time to learn, you know, all the new stuff up here. If it's going to work for you down there that you know about, then go there. Otherwise, you know, even though the numbers work here, you do have to know all the rules and regulations, especially now. They're all they're crazy. They're all different.
Yeah.
Let me give you one example, and then I think Leon or somebody want to jump in. Let me give you an example. The 2019 Tenant Protection Act. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. Are you?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, only through stories.
Well, learn the law. I mean, you need to learn the rules and the law. And because of that, and because of the moratoriums, See, I did all my own evictions for 38 years. I over 4,000. Got very used to them. I knew them inside and out. But once that stuff changed drastically, bam, I'm done. I had to give them over to an attorney
Wow.
to do all this stuff.
And
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
actually
I
the
basi-
law. You have to use an attorney if you're an LLC.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice anymore.
Right.
That's true. I heard that one too.
Yeah. Costs for property managers went up by about 10% in operations between all the junk they had to jump through with the HSTPA. So, and
Yeah.
it just gets passed on. You want to know why rents are going up? Because they're not going to just take it on the chin. That's why.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically a true statement across the US, but I mean, I think that to a certain extent, Rochester is unique. I mean, I can go back to the days when Carl and myself, we used to go in and do the eviction ourselves. It wasn't a hard process. It's fairly simple to do. We did our own, and we did it as individuals. And even back then, if you had an LLC, you needed to have an attorney do it. But still, for someone who was for sake of better words, mom and pop landlord, you could still go in and you could still do the eviction yourself, because in a lot of cases, you have people who only have one property or two at most, and they needed to evict that tenant. Well, without going out too far on a limb, you sure as hell would not say that. You would not do that now. You would get burnt so bad it would be unbelievable. First of all, when the tenants come in, they have their own attorneys paid for by New York State or by you, if you want to look at it that way. It is. I know people who, I try to be somewhat concise here, but I know people in California. Have a friend there who owned like 15, 20 units. And basically, the nightmares that we have here is relatively small compared to what he's had to go through. I know a person in Florida who owns 160 units and across the US. And basically, I was telling him about the moratorium and what was going on. He says, who owns the property in New York? He said, are you crazy or what? He says, I had to evict somebody. It took me 16 days from the time that I started the eviction, and their stuff was on the street. He didn't use the word stuff, okay? It's on the street, was on the street, so I say this all the time, and I need to probably change my wording somewhat, but the devil is in the details.
Right.
And if you can't get down to and through the details, you're going to be surprised. All the numbers associated with New York are great, but things like the amount that they charge for property taxes versus Florida versus Texas and those places, those numbers, you got to be very careful with those numbers because they tend to skew where you're going to end up at when you're doing just a simple return on investment type equation and sort of looking at where you're going to be at. And so, back to Lewis's point, it's one of those things of, if I was going to start off brand new, I probably would be leaning a little bit more towards Florida, sort of as Carl had indicated, than I would New York. And the caveat here is I know a lot more about New York than I do Florida, but I know individuals in Florida. I had a property in Texas I had there for almost 15 years. And I did the property management from here. And I didn't have any issues that come close to the ones I went through in the last few years. And it gets down to the state and their regulations and how they operate. I've seen a little bit of a change from the standpoint of things moving back more towards the middle, but I don't know how long that's going to last. I mean, we put a lot of effort in to do things like ensure that no good cause eviction that didn't get passed. Okay, no eviction without a C of O didn't get passed. And that's all because of the fact that we have paying members that part of Freedom First that we could donate monies to help fight this cause. And so we'll go through a lot more of those sorts of things as we go forward. You know, the thing with Airbnb, we as an organization will support groups like the Rochester Housing Coalition to make sure that those things, we can't guarantee that they will not be passed. We can just do our best to fight the fact that something like that makes no sense. Okay, and so as an example, if you're in Ohio, so what is Ohio doing right now for Airbnb? Ohio is passing laws that say you have a right to do Airbnb if you want to. Okay, that's a right that you have, and that's a law that they're trying to pass. It's completely different than what it is here in Rochester and the discussion that we went through. So it's a very slippery slope. You really have to take a look at the details and be able to go through those sorts of things.
I think it goes with knowing what your numbers are, have an exit plan. Like if you're going to flip a house and you're going to do it now, you're probably not going to get the bidding war and the $50,000 above asking price. So how much do you actually have to make money on the deal when you're done? Be ready to not have the bonus market that's been going on for the last 2 years. Like you should have a plan to get out.
Did you say 2,000 or 20?
I said 20 or 50,000. I remember I threw a big number out there though. I don't think it was 2.
All right. I need the 20 or 50.
Yeah, it was a lot. There was people getting stupid money for houses that were not worth stupid money. It felt like somebody was
right across the street from me, this lady who needed to move to California to follow her family. She listed for $495, and the first day she got for $650. I mean, really? And that whoever bought at $650 bought at the top of the market. There's no way that you can turn that house back in this summer and sell it again for.
And that's the bubble I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We're seeing it, right? It's going to be years before they recapture that. So
right. So that person unfortunately bought at $650 at the very top of the market. I think it's less below $600 now for that house.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see where we turn out at. I really don't think it's going to be 20 years. I think if indeed we sort of go through this, and you got to take it into account. And I said this before in our staff meeting. If we go to World War III, all this stuff is off. It doesn't matter. But if I don't think it'll be 20 years like it was in the past. I think that the key driving point here again, it's in the numbers. There's not enough houses for the number of people that we have. And so somebody's got to they have to have some place to stay, and that's going to drive things up, and it's going to shorten any type of time frame that we have. Now, how minimal that's going to be, that's a different story. Who knows that,
Right. Well, thank you. I appreciate that you guys. Go ahead, Carl.
No. Go ahead, Louis.
I was going to say, I appreciate that
we're
you guys
going to close
took
this
the time,
out. It's
Chris.
9 o'clock. We got to kind of go, but go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I appreciate that you guys took the time to follow up with my question here, because it's going to eventually become, if this question is rhetorical now, at some point it's going to be like, do we do this or not here, or someplace else? And so it's going to happen. It's just a matter of timing.
Well, everybody on these calls is doing business anywhere that they can make money for the most part. So there's people on this call still that have stuff in Texas and Florida and New York and wherever, Colorado. Like, it doesn't matter. You can make money anywhere in real estate, provided you follow the laws.
That's true. Thank you.
All right, guys. I'll see you later. I got to go.
Yeah, I
Have
gotta
a great
go.
night, everybody.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Night. Great call. Thank you very much.
Thank you.